Magandang hapon, Tess.
Magandang
We're back.
hapon, Paulo. Maayong hapon sa inyong tanan in Cebuano, of course. Welcome back to Pinoy Homes Canada, episode
Yes, episode
5.
5. So, Tess, for today's episode, what I wanted to discuss, ang gusto kong pag-usapan,
Ayun,
see,
ayos, galing
starting with
ah.
literal.
You got it perfectly.
Um, that's about it because now to explain Canadian tax shelters and investments,
It has to
mas
be in
mahirap
English.
itagalog. Pero in
We'll
English,
try, we'll try.
yeah. So the one thing I did want to discuss today is the down payment options when you're saving a house here in Canada. Because there's different, I guess, tax shelters, and and I wanted to explain what a tax shelter is versus what an actual just investment is.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, is for you personally, is that clear in terms of the Canadian tax shelters are versus, because some people think that okay, tax-free savings account, that's an investment.
Maybe for other
Yeah.
people, right, so to viewers, it's really good to talk about this because there's a big confusion on the difference between the two.
Mhm.
So it would be good to talk
Yeah.
about it and elaborate more for
Yeah.
more discussion.
So yeah, so the thing is, especially when you're coming from a different country, right? It's not really, I guess, enforced by the government in terms of these tax shelters to save money,
Mhm.
right? So just to start off, so what a tax shelter is in Canada is because we get taxed, up to
Left
like
and right,
sometimes
up
like
and down.
40-50% of income taxes, right? So the government is incentivizing Canadians to save towards, the main one is retirement.
Mhm.
That's why you have your RRSPs. You also have a tax-free savings account now that it's not specific to retirement. And then more recently is the FHSA. Sometimes I have yung acronym, I
I
have a hard
know.
time.
It's kind
FHSA,
of like a tongue
First Home,
twister.
yeah, it's a first home savings
Right.
account. So for specifically for today, I'm gonna focus on where would you save if you're looking to buy a home, which tax
Mhm.
shelter, right? So again, a tax shelter is just a way to shelter money and save money without being taxed of any gain in that account. Kasi otherwise, here in Canada, if let's say you put aside money in a stock for like $1,000 and it goes up to $2,000, technically the gain, which is called the capital gain, is going to be taxed
Yung 1,000.
by the government, yung
Mm-mm.
1,000, if it's not in this tax
Okay.
shelter.
Okay.
Okay. So there's three ways, I guess, that or three tax shelters that can be used towards saving a home. Two specifically actually is for saving for a down payment. The other one is just another tax shelter that you can use, and I will explain the differences. So the first one that's been around for a while is what we call a registered retirement savings plan, which is an RRSP.
Mhm.
So this is specifically for retirement, right? But there is a way to take out money for a home, and this is what a lot of people have used up to now that the FHSA has just been introduced. So what happens is you contribute this towards your RSP, but for the purpose of buying a home, you can take out money. The one thing about the taking it, and it's what it's called, when you're taking out from the RRSP for a home purchase, it's called a home buyer's plan.
Mhm. Do you
Okay.
have to be a first-time
The
home
one,
buyer, Pao? Okay.
yes. So anything that has to do with tax shelters and buying a home, you have to be a first-time home buyer.
Okay.
And ang definition ng first-time home buyer is you haven't had a home under your name for the last 4 calendar years.
Okay. Oh.
So let's say you have a house right now and you sell it today, and 4 years from now, and you didn't buy, let's say you rented, you can use some of these tax shelters again
So it,
for the purpose of buying
so
another
it
home,
resets in 4 years. Yeah.
basically.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's good. Because I heard last time, I don't know, probably wrong information. You have to wait for 8 years.
Not that I'm
Yeah.
aware of, no. It's 4 calendar years.
So that's good.
I
That's
did
not too
check
far.
that
That's
recently.
not long at all, right? So it's good.
Mhm. So going back, so the RRSP is what's been around for a long time, and then from your RRSP that you're saving towards retirement, you can borrow against that, or you can take out your money without being taxed by the government when you take it out, and you can take advantage of for like a home buyer's plan, right? The one thing about the home buyer's plan is it has to be paid back in within 15 years of you taking it out.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. And the main thing about the pros about an RRSP is when you're saving towards retirement, the contributions that you put in are tax deductible. So what does tax deductible mean? So basically, let's say you made $60,000 this year, and then you contributed 10,000 this year towards your RRSP. So it's gonna look like you only made 60,000 minus 10,000, or you're only gonna show income for 50,000. So that means it's gonna decrease the taxes you're owing to the government, right? So that's what a tax deduction is. So now, speaking about the home buyers plan, I think this is something that surprised both of us to find out. So they've actually increased. Before, it used to be a 35,000 that you can take out individually. So let's say if you're a couple, 35,000 that you're saving towards retirement, you can use it towards a purchase of a home. But now, from the budget 2024, it just increased to $60,000 each, which is significant.
Huge,
because
yeah.
I think too, what the government has finally realized is with the price of homes right now, you need a bigger down payment, right? So that's why they're allowing you. So that's definitely good, the 35 to 60,000. But the one downfall on that is now if you take out 60,000, you have to pay that back within 15 years of you taking it out.
What happens
Because
if you don't pay it back in 15 years? Within 15 years?
you're so basically, because you're putting towards retirement, right? So now it's becoming a tax deduction. So that was in your favor, right? So now that if you can't pay it, they're gonna add back that
The money you owed?
that whatever you take out, it adds back to your income. So now you're gonna get taxed on it, right?
At the bracket that you are in,
Also,
right? If you
and also just to clarify with that, it's not you're not becoming tax exempt from your RRSPs. It's more of a tax deferral. That means the idea is you're saving for retirement right now. You're not getting taxed for that money, but when you take it out down the road, you're still getting taxed on it. But ideally, because let's say you're retired and you don't have any other source of income, you're being taxed at a lower tax bracket at that point.
That's
right. So that's what an RRSP home buyer's plan is. And also, I wanted to mention the way the limit is calculated is actually it's 18% of the previous year's earned income to a maximum of about 30. I think 2024 was 31,560 for 2024. So that accumulates of what you can tax shelter, right, every year. So
that's a huge help.
Typically, a lot of people, like if you notice when you see your notice of assessment, which is after you file your income taxes, you receive this document from the government. It's going to outline there all of your limits at the bottom, right?
Notice of assessments,
savings account,
that one,
RRSP, So your notice of assessment. Okay. So initially, that was the only thing available that was specific to buying homes, right? So now, as of April 2023, last year, the government introduced a first home savings account. Now, this is specifically for saving a home, and it's not like coming from your RRSPs and then you have to repay it. Similar to the RRSP, it is also a tax deduction. So same thing, it lowers your income to whatever you contribute. So you're paying a lower overall income taxes, right? So it is tax deductible. The one thing about this is just because it just started last year, the limit is fairly lower. It's 8,000 a year from the time that you open it, and then that can carry forward. You can transfer from your RSP to FHSA, and you do not have the biggest difference between an RSP and an FHSA. I have such a hard time saying that.
FHSA.
Yeah. FHSA.
Yes.
The biggest difference ng sa dalawa is the other one, RSPs, you have to repay back. But for the first home savings account, you don't have to pay back. But then there's a lifetime limit of 40,000. So they limit
When you say you don't have to pay it back, it's
into your.
it's actually given to
You don't
you,
have to pay. No, what I mean is, because you know how in an RSP you're doing a contribution towards your
right?
retirement, and then when you take out for a home buyer's plan, you have to, like what we mentioned before, that you have to pay
Yeah,
back
with
in
it. Yeah,
15 within
yeah.
15 years. Ang FHSA, you don't have to pay
Oh,
it back,
okay,
because now that it's you invested it in a qualified home.
okay. Whoa, that's really good. That's a very good
So
incentive.
yeah. Hmm.
It's not a lot, but it's
And
something.
mhm. And one last thing about the FHSA is it can only be open for 15 years. So let's say you're saving and saving, you have to be able to use it within the next 15 years,
What,
or then you have to close the account.
you just have to close it and withdraw
That
the money? You can't use it for that
that
reason?
that's a very good question. That's where I was gonna.
Who's gonna take the
So
money?
so your options are, you can contribute towards your RRSP.
Okay.
So now you put it back to retirement. So yeah, so you can contribute it to your RRSP, or you can take it out. But the problem with anything that is a tax deduction is, anytime, like even your RSP, you can take it out, but then you get taxed once you take it out, right? So the idea is, you want to limit your taxes, or you kind of do everything that you can pay lower taxes, right?
Tax deferral, meaning delay. They just delay it, and you're
Delay.
being taxed at a lower bracket. And that's, when you take money out,
Hmm.
using it for first time for home buyers plan. If you just take it out
Hmm.
for what the other people, like, others use it for what, hardship, right? And they're being taxed for whatever bracket that they're in, and I think they can use it for other things. So I know we're
Yeah,
focusing on home buyers right now, but they can also use it for
the
RESP
education.
education, right?
Yeah, it's not directly linked to RESP, but there's
Sorry,
life.
education, not RESP.
Yeah, so it's lifelong,
Yeah,
yeah, learning kind of
because
thing. So yeah, so you can take it out for either buying a home, like talking to about RSPs, buying a home, education, and also, like you
the
said,
hardship.
you can for
Yeah,
hardship, but then it does get
yeah,
taxed, right,
that's right.
when you take it out.
That's a really good option. Having that kind of option it's good to know, right? Like knowing that, if you put the money back within 15 years, you're not going to get taxed. And like what we do, me and you, because we're familiar with how it works. Also with the money, I should ask you. So the money that you put in an RSP, what can you do? What can you use it with? Well, it's just in there. If you don't use it for that reason, for home buyers plan. I know I'm going deeper into the funds that are in
Yeah,
there.
yeah, no, no, for sure. So you know what? Let me. I'll answer in terms of what you can invest it
Okay.
in, because
Oh, that's a
now,
thing.
so again, like RSPs, FHSA, they're just like an
Yeah.
umbrella where you save money, but that's not the actual investment. That's to your point, right? I just want to
Yes.
mention that the third option for a tax shelter that's available to Canadians is a tax-free savings account. Okay. So the tax-free savings account, the main difference between the tax-free savings account and an RSP and an FHSA is, it's not a tax deduction whatever you contribute, but now that it's not a tax deduction, you can always take it out without being taxed. That's the main difference. Okay. But also with this one, it is still a tax shelter, that any gain into your investment is not going to be taxed by the government, because that's the main thing about the three, right? Whatever you save in it, any growth into the whatever you invest in is not going to be taxed, right? But this has a limit as well, right? um I think the limit from 2024 is 7,000. um but this was introduced in 2009. And if you were 18 by 2009, because this tax shelter is available and start when you turn 18, when you're of legal age, right? So it was introduced 2009, and every year I think it started at 5,000,
I
and then
think
it kind
so.
of
Yeah.
changes year after
Yeah.
year. Yeah. But if you've accumulated all of that from 2009 and you were 18 then, I believe the limit that you would have up to
2024.
2024 now is about
Wow.
39,000. So that you can tax shelter. So you can definitely utilize this, because sa mga bago sa Canada, you have to understand that we do get taxed a lot. So it's important for you to utilize all the tax shelters that the government is giving you to as an incentive to save money, either retirement or purchasing a home or education. RESPs. But yeah, so I was focusing more on the ones that are specific to buying a
Yeah. So
home.
with TFSA, kung kailangan nila yung pera, pwede nilang kunin anytime, right? Hindi sila,
And there's no tax
hindi
implication.
sila ita-tax. Okay.
Okay. So yeah, so there's a basic three options, right? So I think you had a question earlier.
Yeah, something about the RSP, but before that, so where do you think, where is the best to save for a down payment? Then.
So now that, so it was definitely, before 2023, the only option with RRSP is to have that tax shelter and you're getting a tax deduction. But now with the FHSA, it is definitely a good alternative. The problem is it just depends now on your time horizon and when you're going to buy. Dahil kung mag-open ka lang ngayon ng account and your limit this year is 8,000, and let's face it, you're probably going to need to save, minimum, let's say 30,
Yeah.
40, 50,000 for a down payment, right? So it might not be enough. So my advice is utilize between you and if you have a partner, maximize on what's available into the FHSA, and then the rest of the money that you have that's over that, put towards your RSP, and then you can do the combination of both.
Right.
So utilize the FHSA, do the maximum that you can do, and then any over contributions or any money that you have left, put towards your RSPs so that you can take it out with a home buyer's plan.
Maraming ino-offer na minamatch ng kumpanya yung RRSP if they were to contribute, for example, 100 a month, the company will match it. I think it's something that they should look at and consider, given that it's free anyways,
Definitely.
right? And then that's another contribution.
It's practically free.
Yeah, it's
practically free money. Yeah. It and what Tess is referring to is your employee shared ownership plans that available with some companies. So what they do a matching of up to, typically it's between 3 to 6%, or at least last time I checked, that's what it was. So that means that if you're saving 3% of your salary, this can be registered or non-registered as well, meaning that it can be RSP or just non-registered, which is it's not under a tax shelter. But yeah, it's like free money. If you're contributing, let's say the maximum of 6% and they're matching half of that, you get an extra 3%. That's basically free money. Typically, those are offered in buying company shares.
Right.
From my knowledge.
I mean, if your budget allows you, because I know there are a lot of, living in Toronto alone is so expensive. So if you have extra money to spare, consider doing that if it's being offered by your company.
Yeah. Anything that even, we're not touching on RESPs today.
No.
RESPs, you're contributing up to, I believe, 2,000 or 2,500, and the government matches 20%. That this is free money. So you're guaranteed return of 20% on just for, I utilize it for my daughter because it's basically free money. You're getting about $500 a year.
You're talking about the
of free money from the
RESP?
government.
Yeah.
RESP.
Yeah. So that's the education that Paulo is referring to. So yeah.
So now that we kind of have an understanding of what the different tax shelters are in Canada, so I wanted to clarify at the beginning, that's not the actual investment. That is just a tax shelter so that any money inside of that doesn't get taxed by the government, right? But there are a variety of investments that you can buy, right, within that. So let's say you put a contribution in your RSP for 10,000. That doesn't mean that, that's already the actual investment. You have now the different options of investing it into, you can do mutual fund, you can do stocks, you can do, just a savings account, you can do GICs. Given that it's for saving a home, the idea that you want to do is you want to be secure and the money will be safe, because if you're in a time horizon of, let's say, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, you don't want to be too risky with your investment. So some of the things that you want to entertain are high interest savings accounts. There are high interest savings account there that maybe are making about 4% as of today, like September 2024. I believe that's about roughly 4%, 3.5%. It was actually up to about 5% at one point, and that's completely safe. GICs is another option. So GICs are guaranteed investment certificates. So 100% your capital is safe. But then you're looking
Pero
at
mas
typically they're
mababa.
locked in 1 year,
Yeah.
2 year. They've been competitive to the high interest savings
Oh,
account.
talaga? Anong
So
interest?
they're probably around there. If you're willing to lock in for about a year, you can probably do about that 4% mark as well, 4 or
Okay.
5%. Yeah. But now that although these rates, I just want to point out that a lot of these are tied to the prime rate. So the prime rates have been decreasing lately. So that will be affecting the investment end of things as well. And if you want to invest more into the market, let's say, and the only time that I would recommend for you to invest in anything in the market that has some volatility is if you have a longer time horizon. If you're just starting to save now and you're not going to buy for 3 to 5 years, maybe entertain some. There are index funds out there and ETFs that follow more. Let's say an index, the S&P 500 or the TSX 60, which is the Canadian version of the S&P 500. I don't want to dive too deep. I'm
What
not.
are the risks?
I'm not in
Yeah, what are the risks on those, Pao? Index funds, ETFs.
Well, they're invested in the stock market, right? And the stock market goes up and down.
Oh, so it's okay.
The first one, the first one that I mentioned is high interest savings account and GICs. Your principal is 100%
Okay.
guaranteed, right? But with the index funds, it can be volatile.
Okay.
But the good thing with the ETFs or index funds is it follows an index, and so you're exposed to different companies as opposed to just investing in one stock, for instance. Well, you will follow. It's depending on the index that it follows, the index fund or the ETF. You're probably looking at hopefully like depending, probably like 8 to 10%, I would say.
So,
Yeah.
okay. So it's on the risky side because it's high, right? And it's
Mhm,
volatile.
mhm,
Yeah, okay. So if you're
mhm.
willing to take a higher risk, you can go to those
Well,
ones.
depending on the index fund, right? But
Okay.
that's what I do,
Yeah.
because if you want your principal 100% guaranteed, you're probably looking at about, at this point, about 4%, right?
Okay.
So, but yeah, don't quote me on but yeah, roughly that should be what you're aiming for if you're gonna do like an element of risk. Is probably like a 7 or 8% return. But again, just disclaimer: I'm not telling everybody to invest in
Yeah.
this specific funds or anything. We're not sponsored by anybody, but yeah, talk to your investment advisor or financial advisor about any of these investments. I just want you to know what's available out there. Um, if you don't if you want to do your own homework, what I would recommend is this. What I personally do is I do direct investing. So your bank would have a direct investing. I personally do TD direct investing. RBC has direct investing as well. It opens you up to different investments that you can do yourself. And then you're typically just paying per trade, right? So, but because without this type of account, it's either you're dealing with an investment advisor and they're doing processing trades for you, right?
Where you have to pay a
So
fee.
if you want to learn by yourself and be able to do it and just do your own research and do a bit of investing, uh, I would say the discount brokerage channel is probably a way to start.
And are you familiar with Real Estate Investment Trust, REIT?
REITs,
Yeah.
yeah, REITs. And I personally haven't
I didn't want to use the
invested in it. I
acronym
am
because
someone.
some people don't understand what it is. I had to spell it out. Yeah. So, what do you think of that? Is it safe to invest on that, Pao?
It's good, but it's not 100% guaranteed, right?
Oh,
But it is backed up by real estate.
right.
It's
That's why
backed up
I'm
by real
curious.
estate,
Yeah.
which is overall is relatively
Safe.
safe because you have collateral, right, in a lot of this investments. So just because I don't personally invest in it, I don't want to speak on
Okay.
that. But yeah, that's definitely something I entertain as well.
Sounds good.
Aside from the index funds or ETFs. But again, that's what I was only bringing those couple of options just because we are focused more on for saving a down payment in this conversation.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I was thinking more anything that has capital preservation is your ideal number one, because you don't want to be like, okay, I'm buying a house next year and then the market's down next year, and then suddenly your 50,000 you're investing is down to, let's say, 40, right? So definitely when you're saving for a home, think about safety. Just because you have a shorter time frame, you don't have the the ability to have time on your side, kind of thing. So ideally, something that has 100% guaranteeing your principal.
What about the emergency fund? Do you know how a lot of people, when they purchase a property, those are the only expenses that they think about? They don't think about any other expenses that are, like, that are actually part of buying a property.
Well, aside from down payment, right? Like, because you're saving for the down payment for the home, but also with purchasing a home, you have to save about 1.5 to 2.5% for closing costs. So there are other expenses that you have to think about when you're buying a home. Like something to cover land transfer taxes, legal fees, furnishing your home.
Right.
There are other things to consider
And
for sure.
after, there are utilities, right? And other things. And that's why
Yeah.
maintenance, because a lot of people don't think about this. Like, they just like, okay, I have enough money for closing costs, but they shouldn't like
Mhm.
spend all the money that they have. This mga savings nila, they have to
Mhm.
spare some for their daily needs, because there are a lot of unexpected expenses. They should always have, how long, Pao? 3 to 6 months of emergency fund?
You know,
Usually, generally
um,
speaking, I would say
it, it,
six
it it's
months.
about three, like, yeah, 3 months or 6 months. But realistically, in this day and age, it's hard to
I know.
save that. Like, imagine, like, I don't see a lot of people that's having $10,000-$20,000 in saving just for
Real talk.
emergency.
That's true.
uh the other thing is, like, what I actually personally do instead of doing that three. I also don't like putting money aside that's making, let's say, 2-3% and not doing anything. I'm a strong believer of having, like, a line of credit that's specific for emergency.
Anytime, like borrow some money and just
Yeah. So
yeah.
because it's for emergency,
Yeah.
right? So it's just sitting there, and a line of credit, if you're not utilizing the balance, you're not paying any interest, right? So that's what I have for emergency, because ideally, my personal belief is I want my money making money for me. So it's either invested in stocks or it's invested in real
Mm-hmm.
estate. So with that said, then that's not liquid,
Right.
right? So what I have for emergency is, unsecured lines of credit. I probably have, like, yeah, I have a lot. I have, like,
So you got yourself
between
covered.
different banks.
Yeah.
I have
Yeah.
myself
Yeah.
covered with the lines of
Yeah. I
credit.
think
Yeah.
everybody should
So
have a line of credit. Like, use it for that purpose, not for like spending money for
yeah,
nothing, like not
not even.
important,
I, I don't
unimportant stuff.
I don't even believe in leveraging other people borrow to invest. This I specifically use for emergencies, so that I don't have to park
Same.
money that's not making any
Yeah,
interest,
I
right?
don't even think that it's there. I just use it in case I need it. Yeah, the same thing. Because
Mhm.
it's important that you have something to. I mean, you have a place to go to if in case you need the money. You never know when you need it, right? And like you
Mhm,
said,
mhm.
sometimes for the
And some of
investments, you
this,
can't. It's not liquid. You can't just. You need time to actually take them out and stuff. It's a lot of hassle, and some of them are
or
locked in.
it might not be the right market
Yeah.
to liquidate it, right? So you don't want to lose out money just because you need the funds. You don't want to be like, let's say, if your stocks are down, or even with your real estate, do I need to sell right now?
Yeah.
Maybe I'm selling at a loss at this point. So maybe, like, take out from your line of credit for the meantime. And some of these lines of credit right now are, prime plus one, prime plus two. Like, that's unsecured.
Hmm.
That's not the ones that are secured under your home. So yeah, so you're looking at maybe around 8%. Sorry, even 7.5 right now. Usually, you get better interest when you have good credit, right? So if you're have 800 and above, so this is when credit score matters, is because those lines of credit are actually specific on what you're gonna get as an interest, is based on your
Credit
credit
score.
score.
Yeah. Anything over 800 is excellent. Between 7
Mhm,
to 799 is very good.
mhm,
Good to very good.
mhm,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah, that's good. Good talk. That's
So
very
yeah, did you
helpful.
have any questions about, yeah, did you have any questions specifically what we discussed today, guys?
Actually, all of them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Again, just going back, so what my recommendation when you're saving for a down payment is, first, utilize your first home savings account that was available since last year, and any over contributions of what you've capped off on the 8,000 from last year, and let's say you used 8,000 this year and you need have extra money, then contribute all your RRSPs so that you can get the tax deductions from both, and then you can take out the home buyer's plan from the RRSPs when you're ready to buy.
Yeah.
Okay. So that the time that I would use a tax-free savings account, if you're not quite sure that it's specifically for a house that you're saving for, and then maybe that's when you use some of and put some of them in a tax-free savings account, because maybe, you know what, I'm saving for a house, but now I might need a car. So maybe put that in your tax-free savings account.
FHSA. It's
So it's not
mainly
just
for,
me, right?
no. It's, acronym is hard to pronounce. Like, I'm just gonna spell it out. First home savings account is, it's meant for the home, and
Specifically home.
and RRSP as well, the home buyers plan, right? So the TFSA is if you have anything other than those two for homes, like for loans for this, for anything else other than homes, would be at TFSAs where you would take the money out, right? These are really good options.
For sure. Well, it's good to discuss because it, like I mentioned at the beginning, it's a bit confusing, and it took me, like, I have a financial advisor background, and that's when I took my courses way back when. I actually had to update myself as well before this episode, just to kind of update myself with the numbers and everything, because they've
They
definitely
changed,
changed.
yeah. Just like the
They changed it
RRSP,
because
it changed. I didn't even know that it
Mhm.
went up to 60K
Yeah.
per person. Now 120K for a couple. Used to be
For a
35,
couple.
35,000 or 70K for a couple. That's really good to know. Even I was like, really? When did it go up? You said it just went up in July, right? So
July. Yes, July
it's fairly new.
2024.
Okay.
Mhm.
I'm sure some people.
Sounds good.
Sorry. I'm sure
Yeah.
a lot of people don't know about that too. Then the new change.
Sounds good, Tess. Well, I think that wraps up our episode for today. And we just want to remind everybody that, definitely subscribe to our channel, like, so that we can help
Yes, that's
educate
right.
everybody out there, and to our Filipino community. Kung it would be Tagalogin ko sana. Yeah. Make sure I can't do
You
it.
can't do it. Anong gusto mo sabihin?
No, I'm just saying, make sure you follow us, and we're on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and it's at Pinoy Homes
That's
Canada.
right. Tuning in. Share this our YouTube channel to all the social media platforms, to your friends if you find value. And if you have any question or want to suggest any other topics that you want us to discuss, just put a comment below. That's
Sounds
it.
good, Tess. Well, until next time, Tess.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Talk to you
Talk
soon.
to you
Okay.
soon.
Bye.
Bye.